Hi everybody, it is Kat here doing our very last expert live that we've been doing over the last few weeks. We didn't get a chance to do it last week. I was actually out and about in Cardiff for a meeting, and so we weren't able to do the one that we had planned last week, but I'm really pleased to have Jen Gale joining us this morning, hopefully if all the tech works appropriately. So I'll just talk for a little while, as it takes a while to kind of set up and go live. So Jen runs a brilliant business helping people become more sustainable, and she'll tell her story when she jumps on. But essentially here she is. I'll let her tell the story then. Let me just add you. Excellent, she's joining now. Some of you may already know Jen. You're likely to be in one of her groups, and she's often sort of commenting in my
Hello.
Hi Jen, how are you?
Very well, thank you. You?
Excellent, yeah, perfect. Really, really good, thank you.
How's
Thank you so much for joining me on the Guest Expert Live series. It's
no
fantastic
problem
to have you involved. I was just saying before you jumped on, this is the last one before Christmas. We've been doing it for the last 6 weeks or so.
Oh my goodness.
So it would be really great. I'm sure many people already have connected with you or know you, but I'm sure there's also lots of people in my community that don't. So I would love you to share your story, and then we'll ask you a few questions and stuff, if that's all right.
Oh, yeah. So I guess my story, as it were, started back in. I randomly decided that my family and I should spend a year buying nothing new. It was just quite a naive challenge. I think I hadn't really sort of anticipated the things that I would learn and the sort of changes that it would bring about. But it really did open my eyes to lots of, to the issues that kind of surround our disposable society, I guess, and the rate of consumption that we all sort of experience. So learned it was the same year that in 2013. So our year randomly started in the September 2012. So during that year, the Rana Plaza factory collapse happened in Bangladesh. So there was lots there about fast fashion. And I think it just hadn't really occurred to me before that there was somebody sat in a sweatshop somewhere kind of sewing the same scene. I just kind of thought it was all done by machines and all automated and that kind of thing, and just hadn't really again thought about the fact that when we buy stuff and we throw it away, there actually isn't any away and it all has to go somewhere. And so it was a really kind of I think there were things that I kind of knew about, but I'd chosen somehow to sort of look away and assume that there wasn't anything I could do about it, that it was, these issues are really big and complex, and surely someone somewhere is in charge of making sure these people are okay and all that sort of thing. So it was quite overwhelming at times to kind of be learning all this stuff and realizing how huge these issues were. Mm-hmm. But I came out of the year just with the biggest lesson that, I can make a change, even just as me, even just as one family. We have the capacity to make different choices every single day, and we have the capacity to make those more informed and better choices. Mm-hmm. And having kind of learned that, I couldn't kind of unlearn it and look away and carry on as we were before. So that's, I guess, really what started my sort of journey, if you like, into sustainability. I blogged throughout the year. I blogged every day for the year, and I'm still not sure how I did that. And yeah, just and I guess I've spent the years since just trying to find a way to be able to use that knowledge that I've gained since then, and to be able to help support other people and to generate an income while doing that. So I've just signed a book deal with Bloomsbury to write a book about
really
sustainable living. So exciting. So my deadline is actually mid-Jan, so I'm slightly panicky. So it's going to be out January 2020. So yeah, that's kind of really exciting, and hopefully, takes things to a whole another level. It's a book really aimed at the mainstream and aimed at kind of encouraging everybody to take these, because they are all just cumulatively small steps that feel inconsequential, but they really do, when enough of us do them, and when we do enough of them, they really do add up.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. No, it's really great hearing your story, Jen, because I think it's really amazing, like the commitment you made for a whole year to really just not buy anything new. What were the things that you struggled with most during that year? Like,
And this always sounds so shallow. I really struggled. I really wanted magazines. I wanted to, because I think, like, I think it was more the idea that I might have half an hour to sit down with a cup of tea and like read this magazine, which I would never ever get to do. Both the kids were preschoolers, you know, so I would never get the. So I kind of really struggled with that, bizarrely. Just being organised as well, in that, like, for some reason it was a surprise when suddenly it's winter and the kids need new wellies, and you're like, oh yeah, I should have thought about that and been looking out for that earlier. That kind of thing. And then what else? No, I mean, it was, you know, I'm not a big shopper. I don't really like shopping. So actually, and in some respects, I like charity shopping. I find I quite enjoy, because you can just sort of wander around. The kids, park the kids in front of the toys, you know, have a look around. So it is a lot. I find it a much pleasanter way to shop.
and so what were your kind of rules around what you, because like if you went to charity shops and stuff, but were there other rules around like food and, you know, just essentials that you needed to buy? Like, what
so
rules
I'm not green fingered at all. So for us to even attempt to be self-sufficient would have resulted in starvation. So yeah, we could buy food, we could buy toiletries, medicines. And then because the kids were really little and I was worried about their feet being deformed and things, so I said we could buy new shoes to make sure that they fitted properly. Oh, and underwear. But actually, I think I just made do with the underwear that I had. I still had these really old, like, maternity nursing bras and stuff. And by the end of the year, I was like, oh, I just need to get rid of these. So yeah, those were the kind of rules. And I think then we said, you know, if anything broke and needed a new part to fix it, we could buy that rather than ditch something that was fixable. But I think the beauty of the challenge is that you can set your own rules. So you can, you know, it needs to be a challenge, but it also needs to be doable. You know, if we'd said, right, we're not going to buy, I know, there's a brilliant lady called Michelle McGar who did she didn't buy anything for a year. So she didn't, you know, she didn't pay for any transport. She didn't buy, and like, for us, you know, I think with kids in tow, that would have been a real struggle. So, you know, you can set it to set your own boundaries and your own rules. And if you don't want to do a year, you can do a month. But I just think that stopgap in between needing or wanting something and being able to instantly find it, you know, I couldn't find it straight away. I had to take a bit of patience and a bit of looking. And that's just such a powerful gap to enable you to think about, do I really need this? You know, maybe a week later you've forgotten that you wanted it and all that sort of thing. Because I think we've just got so knee-jerk, right, that's broken, or they're going out of that, we need a replacement of that. And actually 9 times out of 10 you probably don't, but it's just we have that instant fix of consumerism and we can just go and indulge it. So yeah.
So what were the most interesting things or like new ideas that you had while you were kind of through this challenge? Because there must have been moments of like, oh, how do I replace that, or what do I do?
Yeah, I think I'd called the blog My Make Do and Mend Year, and I could sew, but I'd never really mended anything. I had this, you know, even if a button came off something, I'd just sort of put it to one side and wait till my mother-in-law came round to do, because I was just really worried for some reason that it would just come off again, or that you know, I wouldn't do it properly. And then William, our eldest, was at preschool, and he, you know, and they spend their whole time crawling around on their knees, and he went through the knees of one of his pairs of trousers, and I was like, okay, right, I'm really going to need to like step into this now and actually mend these and have a go at patching them. And I was absolutely terrified that, and I suddenly thought, God, I remember seeing kids with patches on their jeans when I was growing up, but I don't remember the last time I saw a child with a patch on their jeans, you know, since I've had kids. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to be ostracized. He's going to be bullied at preschool. The preschool workers are going to like think, I don't know what they're going to think of us, but they're going to think we're really weird. And just all these thoughts went through my mind, and I patched it, and it wasn't the greatest patch. I think it started coming undone again in about 3 weeks, but you know, inevitably it was fine, and he wasn't bullied, and you know, and by the end of the year, you know, we had all got jeans that were patched to the nth degree, you know, and I'd got reasonably adept at different techniques for patching and things. So I think that was really interesting, just I guess almost the sort of societal norms that we're not even kind of conscious of, and that you know, now I love a bit of mending, and I love visibly mending because it feels like quite a subversive thing to do. It is quite kind of countercultural. It is quite, you know, pushing back against that status quo of if something's broken, you just go and replace it. And actually, no, look, I've patched these jeans, and I had a pair that I'd patched and done loads of different sort of darning and different patches and stuff. And they always started a conversation, you know, with people that you wouldn't, you know, I find it quite difficult to just rock up to people and start conversations about sustainability and climate change. But actually, people go, oh, I really like your jeans. You go, oh yeah, you know, they had, and I just thought I was going to have a go at fixing them. And, you know, I think we should all really, and it was really easy, and I'm not very good at sewing, and I could do it, and, you know, fast fashion, and it just starts conversations that you wouldn't otherwise normally have.
Yeah, no, definitely. So Jen, I think I saw in a recent post you were kind of encouraging people. You had some tips around sort of things to think about when you go and purchase anything, really. Can you share some of those? Because I think it was really helpful, particularly at this time of year at Christmas, when we often get into a sort of crazy mentality of just buying anything for anyone for no particular reason.
Yeah. So I think that is the crux to it for me, is just trying to make our consumption thoughtful again, because it has become so unthoughtful. You know, I'm sure we've all gone into Lidl's for a pint of milk and come out with like a hedge trimmer. Do you know, it's just like, oh yeah, I could do the hedge trimmer. And it is just, I see it, I want it, I buy it. And we need to reconnect with our stuff again. I think we need to reconnect with our stuff in terms of, you know, do we really need this? Do we really want it? Do we, are we going to love it? Are we going to cherish it? If it breaks, are we going to mend it? Are we going to wear this 30 times? Are we going to keep this for the next 20 years? And if the answer is no, then, you know, you really need to think about, well, is it then worth the resources that have gone into it, the people that might have made it, all those things? And that sounds really worthy and really dull, but it can just be a split second, you know, just to kind of, I think our mentality around shopping is quite toddlerish. It's quite kind of like, I want that, I want that, I want that. And we just buy it. So I think thinking about, you know, am I going to really love it? Where's it going to go when I've finished with it? You know, the Vivienne Westwood has the, I don't know if it was her who coined it originally, but buy less, buy better mantra. And that's so true. And it applies to everything. It applies to our clothes. It applies to, you know, we eat meat, but we eat a lot less meat, and we make sure when we do that it's organic and that it's local, and all those, you know, we're buying better quality meat rather than really highly processed, intensively farmed stuff. Energy, you know, using less energy, but having a green tariff, so it's a renewable source, all those sorts of things. If you can just slow down, anything you can to slow down your rate of consumption. And I bang on about the waste hierarchy, which sounds like the dullest thing ever, but it's basically like a triangle. And at the bottom of the triangle is, we're all familiar with the kind of reduce, reuse, recycle that was kind of around. But actually there's several more layers to, you know, so the first one is refuse. So if you can, you know, do without something, then that's brilliant. Reduce, reuse, and then trying to think now, I think I put in rehome, repair, and then like recycle and rot, landfill are right at the very top. So, you know, recycling is better than landfill, but actually we need to think about how much we can reuse stuff, how much we can not use stuff, all those kinds of things beforehand. So that's a really long-winded tips.
No, that's really helpful. Really, really good ideas. And what are your, like, if people are thinking of, I mean, obviously they'll wait for the book, but that's still 12 months away.
Yes.
So in the meantime, if people want to kind of give themselves a mini challenge, or just thinking about how they can be a bit more sustainable in 2019.
Yeah.
What are your kind of top tips, particularly maybe if you're just thinking about the home?
Yeah. So I think, you know, sustainable living is such a massive topic, you know, that, and what I've done before is kind of split the year up. I always say this, and I say it wrong. I say I split the year up into 12 months, like I invented the calendar, but designate like a topic to each month. So, you know, just thinking maybe January might even just be a sort of make and do month, you know, what, shopping the cupboards, shopping the freezer, shopping your wardrobe. So, you know, see how long you can go without buying stuff for the month. And then maybe in February you'll look at energy or something like that. But in the home, I think the most impactful thing that we can all do is switch to a renewable energy supplier. that is more impactful than going vegan or giving up your car. So, you know, and that is something that we can all do. You know, I know lots of people say, well, I don't really want to go vegan, or I can't, it's not practical to give up my car, but we can all switch our energy supplier to renewable energy supplier. So in the UK, there's Good Energy and Ecotricity. There are, you know, green tariffs on the big six things, but I think it's really important to think about who you're giving your money to. Are they actively investing in renewables? Have they got their own wind farms, solar panels, all those kinds of things? So that's just like the easiest. I would, you know, I've put it in my book, like if you do one thing after reading this book, please, you know, this is the one thing to do. So, you know, new year, if you want a New Year's resolution that is going to last all year and beyond, switch your energy supply, and it doesn't need to cost any more money. So that's really super easy. And then I think just take one thing at a time. So plastic's been a massive thing this year. So if you want to look at plastics, that's still a really massive issue. So maybe you might want to start with looking at plastics in the kitchen. And you know, and I always say, go for the easy stuff first. So, you know, the water bottles, the coffee cups, the plastic bags, and they're all things that we've probably got the reusable versions of, but we probably forget to take them out with us. So it's about creating new habits, anything that you can do to make it as easy as possible. So keeping your shopping bags in the car, or getting one of those little mini ones and clipping it onto your keys, so you can't leave without one. Just developing some new routines around making sure you've got those things with you, and then looking at a brilliant thing to do for plastic and for rubbish in general is actually to keep it all for a week. So we throw our stuff in the bin, and we put the bins out, and we don't really think about it. But in like Plastic Free July, I did a plastic audit and kept all our plastic, whether it was recyclable or not, in a box for the week. And it was horrifying, you know, and I think we're taking some good steps around plastic, but it was to be confronted with it, to have to look at it every day and not be able to ignore it. It was like, whoa. And then, and it's a really good thing to get the rest of the family on board with as well, because, you know, you can get the kids collecting it, and then they're kind of picking the bits out of the bin that you've tried to hide. And, you know, they can get quite officious about it. And then you all sit down at the end of the week and go, okay, so what actually is in here? Is there anything in here we could easily swap out? And rather than you saying, right, guys, no fruit shoots, no this, no that, no crisps, you know, you can come up with ideas together. And pick one thing to start with. You know, if it is, there's loads of water bottles. Okay, so, you know, right, let's make sure everybody's got a reusable water bottle. Let's all remind each other before we go out that we've got one. You know, and then pick the next thing, and just make a list of like the top 5 or whatever, and work your way through that. But with all things, you know, sustainable living, I think it is just pick one thing at a time. Otherwise, it's too overwhelming. And I talk a lot about the ish. You know, trying not to. The goal of plastic free or zero waste or sustainable, like I don't even know what that looks like. So, you know, that actually we can all be plastic free ish or zero waste ish just by making a start. So, and I think that's really important. We mustn't let the end point, the perfection of the end point, stop us from starting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because it can be overwhelming, can't it? Just focusing on one thing at a time. It builds up positive habits, and you're not feeling that sense of overwhelm. I certainly have taken that on from you, kind of like just focusing on plastics for a few months, and, you know, certainly not got to a perfect state at all, or where I want to be, but have definitely seen a reduction because I kind of refuse things coming in, or I make different decisions at the shop. You know, and I know when things aren't quite perfect, I'm like, you know, particularly if I find myself out and about really desperate for a drink. You know, it's like, well, what do I do? So I think it's really, really important that, you know, yes, we all have to make these changes, and yes, there is a deadline and a limit for when, if we're not making these changes collectively, we're in pretty dire straits from all the evidence at the moment. But at the same time, if we're actually going to make long-term sustainable changes, we need to do that in a manageable way, don't we?
Yeah. And I think it needs to feel doable for everybody, because, you know, it's all very well seeing, and potentially quite aspirational, seeing people with, you know, who can fit 3 years waste in a jam jar, but that doesn't make it feel doable for me. That makes me feel like, oh God, I'm an awful person. But to just know that, you know, the impact you can create just by starting, just by, you know, if you think how, you know, if you commute to work and you have a coffee every day on the way to work, that's 300 cups of coffee, or 300 coffee cups, you know, and can be replaced by one. So that's a massive a massive thing. And if everybody did that, you just need to do the math that I can't do. So yeah, it is.
Yeah, no, it's really big impact. So plastic's definitely been a big theme nationally this year, and kind of tackling plastic waste because of all the great campaigning that's been done on that. Do you think there's going to be other trends in 2019, and just things that we need to be conscious of or looking out for?
I think plastics will continue, and I know some people, complain is probably too strong a word, but some people are concerned that the hype around plastics takes away from the real issue, which is climate change.
Yeah.
I tend to think that I can totally see why plastics has caught the imagination so much, because it is such a visible part of our lives. We all use plastics, and it's really easy to see the impact of it in the, when you watch Blue Planet 2, or you see some of the videos on social media, and you can think, God, yeah, I've used one of those bottles and I can see it floating around. It's really easy to see the impact. Whereas climate change, we know that the dots join together. It's very difficult to see that the dots, I put my heating on a bit early this year. Oh, we've had a lot of flooding this year. You can't see those connections. We know that they exist, but it's very difficult to see them so clearly. But I think the other thing is that it's so amazing to see so many people passionate about the environment and that one aspect of it. And it's almost, my hope is that it's kind of like a gateway drug to the rest of kind of sustainability. And that once you start thinking about trying to reduce plastic, and you're doing that because you care about the planet and the wildlife and things, that you'll start thinking wider about the other things that you can do. I think I'm right in saying that Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall is doing another War on Waste follow-up later in I think in the spring. So, I think that there will probably be an appropriate response to that. I don't know what, I think he's following up on the coffee cups and things, but I know he talked about fashion. Fast fashion's had a good airing as well this year with the BBC One documentary that Stacey Dooley did, and I think that's hopefully going to continue to sort of gain momentum and get people thinking about the disposability. Even at Christmas, like Christmas jumpers, it's something crazy like, I want to say £220 million, and these jumpers just get worn once. Well, like, wear the same one next year. Like they are, it's such a prime example of fast fashion. They're cheaply made. They're made to be sort of novelty items, worn once and disposed of, and we all need to start redressing that. And I'm just hoping that sustainability in general will become much more, much less of a niche thing, I guess, and much more mainstream. That's what we need. Is we need these things to become normalized. In the same way that even just probably a year ago, you'd have felt a bit of a weirdo taking your reusable coffee cup into the, or people would have commented on your reusable coffee cup, and now it's just completely normal. So we need to make those kinds of things, just make it normal for everybody to do, and just almost like drink driving. You just wouldn't dream of drink driving now, and you wouldn't dream of kind of dropping litter on the floor. We want it to get to that kind of point.
Definitely. Oh, Jen, it's been brilliant talking to you.
Sorry, I feel like I've just waffled on.
No, not at all. I'd love to carry on for much longer. And I know we could, because we've had many conversations. Can you tell us how people can find out more about you and get in touch?
Yeah, so I think across most social media channels now I'm sustainable-ish. So on Twitter, Instagram, my Facebook page. I've got a really active and engaged Facebook group, which is A Sustainable Life with Jen Gale. You're all more than welcome to come and join us in there. And yeah, the website is sustainablelife.co.uk. There's loads of free resources there on the blog. I've got a podcast. And then if you're wanting a bit more support and kind of resources all in one place, I've got some e-guides around plastic-free living, and then there's a Christmas one and things at the moment as well.
Fantastic. Oh, well, we'll definitely put all those links in the comments below. But have a brilliant Christmas, Jen.
Yes, and you.
Thank you so much for joining me.
No problem at all. You have a lovely Christmas when it gets here.
Yeah, and good luck with your book.
Well, and good luck with your baby.
Thank you. Yes. Thanks very much. Speak to you soon.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.